News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. Craig Adams began his career as a financial advisor about 27 years ago, and on Wednesday he cut the ribbon on his firm's new office building at 701 South Main, Suite 400 in Logan. Adams Wealth Advisors occupies the top floor of the four-story office complex along the Logan River, and Adams hosted clients, city officials, and the community to tour the new offices.
It's been awesome, and the people of Cache Valley and Northern Utah have been awesome to support us as well, as we've been able to try to help them meet their goals and be able to continue to facilitate what their hopes are for their future.
Besides growing into a new 16,000 square foot office space, Human Resources and Senior Executive Associate Scott Hamblin said the firm has grown its number of employees as well, employing 25 full-time in Logan and 2 in St. George.
For a growth perspective, in the last 4 months, we've hired 5 employees. And so it's really started to expand our financial planning offering, our investment offering. That's where we've really bulked up a lot of our employees.
Adams says it's been exciting to see his company grow while retaining great talent from Cache Valley and northern Utah, while also attracting talent to Cache Valley from other areas of the country. Chief Investment Officer and Managing Director of Investment Management and Technology, Cormac Murphy, came to Adams Wealth Advisors about 2 years ago after spending time managing a substantial portfolio with Charles Schwab.
It's a massive company with tons and tons of people, and so to move to a dynamic, rapidly growing company, it was just amazing, and it's been really exciting. And I think, the building here is kind of a sign of just how fast we've taken off.
Adams referred to the new offices as purpose-built space, which took nearly 2.5 years to complete. KBNU News Time is 4:07. KBNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy skies. Overnight low in the lower 50s. Slight chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon on Friday. Partly cloudy skies, high around 80. Southwest winds 10 to 20 miles an hour. Chance of rain showers and a slight chance of thunderstorms after midnight Friday night. And then rain showers Saturday morning. Rain showers likely. Chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon. It will be cooler. High temperature in the mid-60s. It's been to 85. Right now it's 83 at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. Bring back the sounds you've been missing. Schedule a free hearing evaluation with Dr. Paul Daines at Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
The wind is whipping, rain is pouring, branches are falling, and it could hail at any minute. How could you leave your baby out in that storm?
Well, I can't park her in the house. Oh, baby, Daddy loves you. I'm so sorry. What can I do?
Call Northern Steel Buildings to protect your baby. We build custom agricultural buildings, barns, arenas, warehouses, and equipment storage that's built to last. Schedule a free consultation at northernsteelbuilding.com. That's northernsteelbuilding.com. Value from concept to construction.
KBNU News Time is 4:08. Funding for mental health screenings, crisis intervention, and other efforts have increased $60 million over the last 3 years. Since 2019, the Utah State Legislature has added money to school budgets to help pay for mental health experts in what some described as an unprecedented increase. The money is ongoing, meaning it will likely stay the same or increase in the years to come. State Representative Steve Eliason has been at the forefront of the push for additional funding. He told KUTV that the funding was initially intended to deal with Utah's high teen suicide rate, but that the added resources will help evaluate and assist students who may be dealing with potentially violent tendencies as well. Bills like HB 373, HB 32, and HB 323, all enacted within the last 3 years, helped pay for hundreds of new counselors, set up mental health screenings for students, money for counseling if they cannot afford it. The legislation also helps mental health workers respond quickly to needs. Eliason said that they've funded mobile crisis teams throughout the state that can respond to someone's home, to an adult or youth who are in crisis. The state has also continued to increase funding for the Safe Utah app. On the app, students can talk with a mental health counselor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They can also report threats that they may see at school. And U.S. land managers have given final permissions for a 416-mile transmission line that would connect wind farms in eastern Wyoming with customers in Utah and elsewhere across the West. The U.S. Bureau of Land Management today said it has notified Portland-based Pacific Corp that it can proceed with its Energy Gateway South transmission line. The line will run from the Medicine Bow, Wyoming area across northwestern Colorado and end south of Salt Lake City. The Biden administration has promoted renewable energy in the West, but delivering that power to customers will require major upgrades to the nation's aging electrical grid. KVNU News Time is 4:11. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Breaking news. Stimulating talk is what we do. KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Memorial Day is almost here, and we are open for you at Anderson Seed and Garden. This is Mark Anderson, your garden Google. If you're planting for Memorial Day, we are fully stocked with hundreds of varieties of vegetables, flowers, trees, and shrubs. We still have a great selection of seeds just in time to plant during this great weather. Watch for our flyer in your mail this week for savings at your favorite store, Anderson Seed and Garden, 69 West Center in Logan.
Summer is just around the corner. Don't crank up your AC unit before getting it serviced. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning is the team you should call for quality on-time service. If your system needs replaced, think York. York has the best warranties in the business with affordable financing options. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning at 752-7272 or stop by their showroom west of DI. Online at advancedheating-ac.com.
Comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
This is Logan City Police Chief Gary Jensen. Scammers are continuing to target people in the Cache Valley. Fraudsters often threaten with arrest, withholding medical care for loved ones, or offer to sell or purchase items at discounted or inflated prices. Many of these scams often involve third-party gift cards or other money exchanging services. If you receive an offer or are threatened like this with immediate punishment unless you comply, hang up and call the police to report it. Please do not become a victim.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived in Philadelphia. Local time is 3:05 p.m. and the temperature is 67 degrees. At this time, you are now free to use your cellular devices.
You know that feeling when you get to turn your phone on after the plane lands? You can have that feeling every time you drive. Make sure your cell phone is stowed away whenever you are behind the wheel.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
As 2022 ramps up to be a year with a historical number of weddings due to postponements and cancellations during the COVID pandemic, couples need tools to cope, not just with the stress of planning their event, but in building and maintaining a strong relationship after tying the knot. Family therapist Katya Manning has this recommendation.
Could be like a shared faith or belief system where they're openly communicating.
Following the principle, there is more happiness in giving than receiving, is a positive starting ground in building mutual happiness. To find more helpful tips for couples and families, visit jw.org.
Guess which energy source is truly the cleanest for the environment, is affordable, abundant, and is ready right now to do what all the other clean energy sources hope to do someday? It's propane. Yes, propane. To learn more about what propane can do for you, check out the State of Energy right here, Saturday mornings at 6:30. Also, the propane industry is set to grow by $50 billion over the next 5 years. Go to findapropanejob.com.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 a.m. and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People, Thursday, May 26th. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter in the studio as well. Shelley of the Cache County Republican Party will be joining us. This is, of course, the new chair, and she has taken on, Shelley Giddens, I should say her full name. She has taken on, kind of in a rush, no choice of her own. Well, of course, she chose to fill the position, but the rush wasn't her fault. Former Cache County GOP Chairman Chris Booth, of course, is a candidate, so he resigned from the position once he filed to run for the Northeast Cache County Council seat. He's in a Republican primary there with Mark Hurd. Both of them were guests on our show a few weeks ago. Will be guests on our show again in June before the primary comes, June 28th. But that meant that Shelley, who is a longtime activist and a member of leadership in the Utah Cache GOP, assumed the chair role a few weeks ago, and she has wasted zero time getting busy. They actually have two big events to announce coming up at the first part of June, one of them involving Glenn Beck. They have, of course, this debate schedule announced today with details coming in hour 2 on how you can be a part of the debates in Congressional District 1 and the United States Senate debate that will be hosted by the Utah Republican Party itself, not the Utah Debate Commission. And we'll get to that in hour 2 of today's show, but kicking things off here in hour 1, much more fun stuff to talk about than politics. Charlie Schill, our guest here in the studio, he joins us every Thursday at 4 o'clock to talk theater in Cache Valley, arts, entertainment, and more. You can read Charlie's work each and every day at cachevalleydaily.com, but for the next hour, he's here with us in the studio. And Charlie, hello.
Hey, Jason. How you doing?
It's hot outside. I'm already complaining. Not even July, and I'm already, it's hot out here. I sound like one of those southern, not belle. There's another word they use for that southern woman with the fan. I can't remember.
It's a bell.
Is it a bell? Okay.
It's a bell.
I sound like a southern belle. It's hot out here. Anyway, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
You and your stack of papers every week from the
yeah.
theater goings on in Cache Valley. That is, I'm forgetting. I got a text from the Pickville people this week, and I don't remember what it was about.
Probably that they're going to open their show tomorrow.
Okay. Yep, that was it.
That was it.
It's officially summer for theater fans.
Absolutely.
That's what it means, right? The Pickville is launched.
Before we get to that, we talked about the Shakespeare Festival.
Yeah.
The Utah Shakespeare Festival.
Got me excited about that.
Yeah, well.
Uh-oh.
Brian Vaughn has been their artistic director since 2011. And yesterday, he walked out on them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Dropped the ball. I'm gone.
Wow.
See ya.
That doesn't happen often.
No, it's fairly odd.
And what? How many weeks from their?
Less than 4.
Wow, yeah.
They're going to start on the 20th of June.
That's interesting.
The Shakespeare Festival put out a news release, declined to give any details, offered why Vaughn is leaving after 11 years, and is going at the most inopportune time imaginable.
Oh, sure.
In fact, not only was he their artistic director, but he was a cast stalwart. He was scheduled to play Sweeney Todd.
That's one of the big ones from their schedule.
That's one of the big ones, yes.
So they're missing an artistic director and the lead in what was probably going to be one of the most popular shows. Wow. I would like to know the details.
Yeah, well,
it's drama within drama.
Normally, somebody leaves like this, you get, moving on to other opportunities, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
I'm tired, I'm this, I'm that.
It's like in politics, I'm leaving to spend time with my family.
Yeah.
That's what they always say right before the scandal breaks.
Either, and we're getting this from the Trib, but either he crossed swords with somebody who had a much longer sword than he did.
That's interesting.
Or something's really going on down there.
It surprises me that they wouldn't, assuming that he was being reasonable in, some demand or some, thing he wanted to change or influence, for someone to be artistic director and one of the leads in what was probably going to be one of the most popular productions of their season, it seems like they'd be willing to make a lot of concessions to keep that person happy.
It certainly does.
Wow.
I'm not, nobody knows what's going on.
Sure.
They're all being tight-lipped, but
Interesting.
The news release said that organizers remain committed to the 2022 festival.
Well, sure, but how do you find a Sweeney Todd in 4 weeks?
I have no idea. They probably had an understudy.
Okay.
So...
and I'm assuming, this close, the work of the artistic director, most of it's been done.
Probably.
So they could probably skate without one for the season, right? But next year, of course, that means they've got to hire somebody.
That's right.
Soon. Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Vaughn's been with the Shakespeare Festival for years.
Yeah.
He was, he and, who was it? He was been the artistic director since 2017 and shared the job with David Ivins. That's right. From 2011 until then. He's been a stalwart, coming in year after year doing parts for them. I remember back in 2008, or maybe 2006. I'm not sure. Anyway, but we saw, Debbie and I saw him and him in Cyrano de Bergerac by Edmond Rostand, and he was great in that. And he also did one of the Shakespeare comedies. I don't remember which one, though.
I know this. No, I don't. I don't. I remember. So his name, that's how I know his name, was through, I don't know if that was, you said that was his first year?
Oh, no. He'd been there. I used to come back here in the 80s from Japan.
So he'd been doing it a while.
Oh, yeah.
I just remember around that era, there was a lot of talk of this person who was a name to watch.
Yeah.
And was going to be a powerful figure in Utah theater in general, both behind the scenes and on stage. And
not anymore.
That's interesting.
I have a feeling we can expect to hear more about this.
Sure.
As time goes on.
That would be. But so for attendees, this probably means. I guess there's a possibility they announce that Sweeney Todd's being scrapped, but tickets have already been sold.
I don't think so. They'll put in an understudy, or they'll hire somebody who's got the background and knows how to do that show.
And that could be costly.
Yeah, which is another reason why the split has got to be
a major thing.
Yeah, something ugly.
That is interesting, especially for such a long-running organization. That, this is something you wouldn't be surprised to see in a small first or second year theater company.
Well, see, Vaughn and Ivers were, big on, they expanded the season to get that fall season in.
Sure.
They have been major contributors to, movers.
Sure.
In building a new set. There's a new outdoor theater at SUU.
Oh, yeah.
And they use the old theater for a rehearsal hall. And there's indoor theaters as well. So
interesting.
That's not good.
I'm really curious to see what more comes out about this. Charlie Schill, our guest here in the studio, again, news of some trouble, I guess, internally at the Utah Shakespeare Festival. Longtime artistic director and star of this summer's Sweeney Todd production, left of his own accord, resigning the post. And supposedly, yeah, that's the story they're putting out there, right? Again, unlikely they'll be canceling or changing the lineup, but maybe a new name in that lead role. And then the future of the Utah Shakespeare Festival, of course, is going to be searching for a new artistic director. And I would love to know the details on this. 753-5868 if you want to speculate. We'll be back right after this.
Hey everybody, John Weiss again with Heritage Ram. We sure love our trucks in northern Utah, and right now you can get behind the wheel of one of the most awarded, longest-lasting pickup brands on the road during the Make the Switch event. Get 0% APR for 60 months, OAC on select new Ram trucks through Memorial Day. Seriously, you are not going to find a better deal. Heritage Ram in Brigham City, Tremont, and Logan, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals.
Nothing better than a good night's sleep and a comfy chair to sit in. And they can help with both those things at UNI Furniture. A therapeutic mattress or something from UNI's full lineup of Maloof will increase your chances of a good night's sleep. And for the comfy chair to sit in, you need to visit UNI's Chair Heaven. So many chairs at UNI because they carry so many styles and kinds of chairs. And shoppers are always happy when they see the prices at UNI. For a good night's sleep or a comfy chair to sit in, visit the place where there's always a better buy, UNI Furniture, downtown Logan.
Vehicle accidents are stressful enough. You don't need someone showing up at the scene trying to pressure you into letting them tow away your vehicle. Call your roadside assistance provider or insurance company for towing company suggestions, or consult with police on the scene. And always have the price and terms in writing before you let them hook it up. If you suspect fraud, call us at 1-800-TEL-NICB or visit www.nicb.org. A public service message from the National Insurance Crime Bureau.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Charlie Schill, our guest here in the studio this hour, talking theater in Cache Valley. Some news, again, from the Salt Lake Tribune today about the Utah Shakespeare Festival. The lead in the Sweeney Todd production and also the artistic director of the entire festival has left the program after 11 years as artistic director. So what the story is behind that, we don't know, but could mean some interesting developments along those lines for the Utah Shakespeare Festival next season. We'll see. But luckily, that is just one of several things. Should they shut the whole thing down, which of course they won't. But even if they did, we wouldn't be without things to go do.
Of course. Let's shut the whole thing down and pay everybody off.
Oh, can you imagine that?
Can you imagine it?
I wonder, any idea what their budget is for staff?
It's huge.
It would have to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's hundreds of people.
Yes.
So, yeah, this is a major organization, and I believe still run as a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, which is very cool, but I guess we could say this, they don't often have trouble, at least not that we hear about.
That's true.
For as long as they've been around.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm curious what the story behind this is. And I was kidding, we don't want people to speculate, but If you do have a festival, Utah Shakespeare Festival show you plan to get down and see, we'd love to hear why. 753-5868. What else is going on? You got a long list in front of you there.
Speaking of Shakespeare, Logan Youth Shakespeare performed last weekend.
Yeah.
And it was really pretty good.
Was it?
Yeah.
I'd planned to get out to this and couldn't. I was disappointed.
Merry Wives of Windsor is a weird Shakespeare.
It's not one performed very often.
It's not one performed very often, and it's probably, and it's by no means Shakespeare's best, but sometime between 1597 and 1602, Queen Elizabeth whispered into Will Shakespeare's ear that she really liked Sir John Falstaff from the Henry IV, Part 1 and 2, and why don't you write a comedy with Falstaff in love?
Interesting.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of, I say between 1597 and 1602, because in 1602 was when the play was actually recorded as this is it's been published, it's done. But there's all kinds of notations in people's writing that they saw the play before this. So maybe it was growing. There's also a story that Shakespeare wrote it in 14 days.
Wow.
Yeah. Which could mean that he was under a lot of pressure from
because this is a guy,
Queen Elizabeth.
This is a guy that spent years on a single play.
Oh, well, yeah. But
14 days. I mean, I guess if you get good enough at it at a certain point.
Well,
but yeah, there's a little beheading pressure behind you. You can.
There's no big soliloquies.
That's true.
It's not artsy like a lot of Shakespeare's work.
Yeah.
But it's very story driven.
Yeah, it does move faster.
Falstaff arrives in Windsor, and he's hard on his luck. Doesn't have any money, but he's convinced that he's a real ladies' man. So he decides he's going to seduce two wealthy matrons and then blackmail them.
I mean, who amongst us has?
Yeah, right. So he puts this thing into operation, and of course, other people find out about it, and the two women are Mistress Page and Mistress Ford. And
it's coming back to me now.
They're interesting. They're very good, the two of them. They play off each other really well. And they decide they're going to have a little fun with the old man. And they proceed to put him through hell. You've never seen seduction as funny as this.
Basically, well, I mean, maybe torture is not the right word, but they harass this man in a vengeful, deservedly vengeful way.
Yeah, that's quite true. It's not a big cast like Macbeth. There's a number of people in roles that are really interesting. There's a kid named.
You took notes even.
Eli Ashcroft. Okay, so.
Oh, okay.
Think about this. And they in the youth Shakespeare, nobody auditions. If you're interested in a part, they try you out and they work with you.
Sure.
So that you can grow, so that you can learn. Eli wanted to play a female role.
Okay.
See, back in the good old days, female characters were played by young males.
Because women weren't allowed on the stage, basically.
I mean, they were lucky to be allowed into the audience, for God's sake.
Sure.
So Eli plays Mistress Quigley, who is the servant of Dr. something or other, who is one of the suitors for Anne Page, who's the daughter of the Mistress Page.
Okay.
And he's really pretty good. But
that's interesting.
He can pick up the cadence of a female character. He's pretty gawky, but in a funny way. So it works. It really works.
This is what age groups are we talking here for the
9 to 19?
9 to 19. Okay. So this is not necessarily an easy thing to pull off well. I mean, these are, even though you mentioned this was a quickly written Shakespeare play and maybe under duress, threats of beheading, but these are complex characters.
As I say, the story is it's plot driven.
Okay.
You don't have a lot of things going on. You know, the mistresses are both good characters, played by Lizzie Belmont and Camellia Watkins, and you know there's room in here to play.
Oh, okay.
You know, they're disgusted by the fact that Falstaff writes them a letter.
Yeah, identical letters.
Identical letters, and they're ticked about that for starters. And then they realize what he really intends to do. Ford, the husband of Mistress Ford, is enraged by the fact that Falstaff's going to try to do this, and he wants revenge. Mistress Page's husband is kind of blasé about the whole thing.
That is. I always thought that was kind of interesting when the few times I've seen this, that his character was like, what you gonna do?
Also, interestingly enough, Falstaff is played by a girl.
Oh, really?
Mimi McGonigal. And but you don't realize it until about halfway through the show, because she's unrecognizable in a beard and a fat suit.
That's interesting. That's for those who didn't get to see this, if you get a chance to see the production ever, it is funny and it is entertaining. And as Charlie mentioned, it moves actually a little quicker than most Shakespeare, because there isn't a lot of soliloquy or pauses in the action. But it's also on the other side, we should keep talking about this, because I'm curious, because I know there are parts of this that might be a little delicate for the age group of the performers. So I'm curious how they handled some of that. Talking about the Merry Wives of Windsor, quickly written Shakespeare play, one of those lesser performed plays, performed over this last weekend by the Logan Youth Shakespeare Group, and Charlie says they did a good job. We'll be back with more of Charlie Schill, our guest here in the studio, after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:39, and the news is brought to you by Whole Tree Care. A 21-year-old Hiram man has pleaded guilty to critically beating an 8-week-old baby girl. Nathan Lefevre was originally arrested last June and has been out of jail on bail while his criminal case proceeded through the courts. Lefevre participated in a virtual hearing Monday afternoon in First District Court. He accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to 3 counts of child abuse, a second-degree felony. Cache County Deputy Attorney Griffin Hazard explained how Lefevre shook the baby girl when she apparently would not stop crying. The girl suffered multiple rib fractures, 3 different brain bleeds, and contusions all over her body. Judge Angela Fonsbeck accepted Lefevre's plea deal. She scheduled sentencing for August 1st. As part of the pretrial release, Lefevre has been ordered not to have any contact with the victim. He could face up to 15 years in prison at sentencing. Native American students in southern Utah donned beaded caps and eagle feathers at high school graduations this week, months after the state passed a law enshrining their right to wear tribal regalia at the ceremonies. Utah is among a growing list of states where lawmakers have responded to reports of Native American students being barred from wearing beaded caps or eagle feathers at graduation by passing laws to stop school districts from banning them. Native American students, advocates, and attorneys argue that the right to wear it to celebrate milestones is an important cultural and spiritual practice for many tribes throughout the United States. And police believe an overnight fire in central Wyoming that damaged a building being renovated to house a new abortion clinic was deliberately set. Authorities are trying to determine the identity of a possible suspect seen running away from the building before dawn Wednesday. Police say the person was carrying what appeared to be a gas can and a black backpack. The blaze damaged the inside of the building under renovation to house the clinic in Casper, the second largest city in a state where opposition to abortion is widespread. The clinic was set to open in June as only the second place in the state to offer abortions. KVNU News Time is 4:41.
They say diamonds are the way to a woman's heart, but so is a well-kept yard. Kudos to you. You edger of edges taking care of the hedges. But what about those large mature trees?
Yeah, these way up here.
A real man isn't afraid to ask for a little help. No worries. Whole Tree Care has got you covered. They trim and shape large trees and fruit trees, remove stumps and more. Let Whole Tree Care do the heavy lifting. Call 760-6587 and ask for their radio discount. 760-6587.
KVNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy, low in the lower 50s, slight chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon Friday, partly cloudy, high around 80. More showers Friday night and especially Saturday, 90% chance of showers and cooler temperatures, high temperature in the mid-60s. It's been to 85, it's 84 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. Steel is stronger, more flexible, and more dependable than wood, masonry, and concrete, and steel is often less expensive. See their work online at northernsteelbuilding.com. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Inflation at record highs, American-made energy under attack, and our enemies growing stronger. President Biden's weak leadership is allowing Nancy Pelosi and the radical left to jeopardize America's security and put our future at risk. That's why conservative Blake Moore is fighting back against President Biden, Pelosi, and the radical left to create a better future for our nation. In Congress, Blake Moore is working to lower inflation for Utah families by reducing debt, creating jobs, and growing the economy. To better secure and protect American-made energy, Blake Moore is working to increase domestic production, helping America return to energy independence. And as a former Foreign Service officer, Blake Moore knows that by strengthening American military might, we can better protect Americans. It's time to fight back against the radical left for a better American future. Support conservative Blake Moore for Congress.
I'm Blake Moore, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Moore for Congress.
The temperature's warmer, and here at Alpine Home Medical, we couldn't be happier to serve you as we mark our 25th anniversary this spring. Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent, and I want to thank you for being the best customers over the last 25 years. We couldn't have done it without you. If you've shopped with us before, thank you. If not, we want to make sure that we're your one-stop shop for all your home medical needs. You'll find the most selection and best quality products. Check out our power scooters for better freedom to help you move around and get you where you need to go easier. With compression socks, CPAP supplies, and incontinence products, our resupply team ships discreetly to your home, where you need it, when you need it. You get it all in unmarked boxes to protect your privacy. Alpine Home Medical has 10 locations across Utah and southern Idaho to serve you. Visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Jim, can you record the talk back? Record that, Jim. Bet.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Charlie Schill, our guest here in the studio, joining us to talk theater in Cache Valley and beyond. We talked a little bit about some trouble brewing internally at the Utah Shakespeare Festival, which shouldn't change the lineup or the season schedule for the year, so don't worry about that. But interested to see, as that story develops, why the artistic director and star of Sweeney Todd, the production this summer, left abruptly, as the Tribune reported today. We've been talking about the Logan Youth Shakespeare presentation of The Merry Wives of Windsor. And, Charlie, I was just going to ask one last question I had about, just considering the age of these, there are elements of The Merry Wives of Windsor which would, I assume, have to be kind of handled delicately with this age group. At least the production I saw a little while ago, they took some liberties with some of the wives' chosen response to Mr.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I assume they cleaned it up just a little bit.
I saw this down at the Shakespeare Festival a couple.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Could be 10 years ago. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, and it was a little risque, and Mistress Page and Mistress Ford were kind of loosey-goosey, and their clothes kind of, it was rated R.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It relative to Shakespeare terms.
With these kids, we're talking PG.
Okay.
Now, there are a number of kids in this show who are in 4th and 5th grade, you know?
Sure.
And they don't get it.
Yeah, it would be beyond
right
them.
over their heads.
Yeah.
But there's some kids who are 11th grade, 12th grade.
Old enough to get the joke.
Old enough to get it, but there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's Shakespeare. It's not. It's R-rated by Shakespeare standards.
You can do whatever you want with it. You know,
that's what's interesting about this. You could make this work for a youth group.
You could play this kind of commedia dell'arte,
sure.
Where it's risque, where clothing optional. Shakespeare's like that.
Yeah, but you could also play a very clean youth group friendly version in which a lot of things are implied but not said, and
not even implied necessarily.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. It's interesting.
When I was over in Japan, there was a guy in a builder, and he had built this apartment complex, 2 tall buildings, and a model of the Globe Theater between the 2 buildings.
Oh, really?
And
that's very cool.
He had one rule: nobody but Shakespeare would be performed in that theater.
Sure.
And Shakespeare would never be performed in Japanese.
Okay.
They brought in other companies and all that other kind of stuff. For his opening, he brought Ingmar Bergman
Oh, wow.
and the National touring the National Shakespeare Company of Norway.
Wow.
And they did Hamlet. And it was the filthiest thing you have ever seen in your life.
Hamlet can be made pretty R-rated.
Yes, it could.
Yes. I've seen a production of Hamlet. It was in a park, actually, of all places. Kind of taken aback by it. But it fit. You know, it wasn't really even gratuitous. It fit with, you know, some of the That's one of the most interesting things about the Shakespeare era. Not just Shakespeare, but what was popular and what was... Because this was a very, very conservative era. And then yet, in the arts and entertainment world... you know, a lot of times they pulled no punches.
They pulled no punches, yes.
That's interesting to me.
You know, and think about the characters in Hamlet. Could Laertes be gay?
Sure.
What's the implication of that?
How does it change the
sword
story?
fight at the end of the show?
Yeah, which it changes it completely if that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of speculation about some of that with multiple characters in Shakespeare's plays, and it would completely change the story a little bit.
It would make more sense.
It would actually in that one it would. Yeah, in that one it would.
You know, think about Polonius giving his son, you know, the story, be true to thyself.
Yeah. It becomes a very
and you
different
can be
speech.
false to no man. Yes, it becomes a very different speech.
That's interesting to think about. This is, you know, Shakespeare, one of the things about Shakespeare, one of the reasons I love seeing youth groups perform it and see it, you know, things like a full-on Shakespeare Festival happen each year here in Utah. It's fascinating to me that a single writer could have this longevity. And then when you see Shakespeare, what's always fascinating to me is how surprisingly relevant it is. I mean, these are plays that were originally performed in the 15th century.
Yes.
and yet you can see them and think, oh, you know, that's in the news today.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Charlie Schill, our guest here in the studio, talking theater in Cache Valley. If you'd like to join us, 753-5868. And we'll be back right after this.
Did you know that the average lifespan of a metal roof is almost 50 years? Compare that to an asphalt shingled roof that's only 15 to 20 years max. So choose metal for your next roof project. Palmer's Metal Mart in Lehigh and Logan is your metal roofing center for projects big and small. How do you know if it's time for a new roof? Are you missing shingles? Water damage in your home? Large amount of asphalt granules in your gutters? Shingles starting to curl upward? If you have these warning signs on your roof, it's time for a new one. With over 20 color finishes to choose from and all the popular styles. You'll love your roof from Palmer's Metal Mart. Save thousands when you install a metal roof from Metal Mart. Our professional staff can help you put together a roof that you can be proud of and know will last for many years to come. Call today. Palmer's Metal Mart in Logan and Lehigh. Online at palmersmetalmart.com. Mention this ad for special pricing. Palmer's Metal Mart, your metal roofing source.
Do you have a nasty weed problem? We have the right person for you. Sir, you work for Logan Extermination, don't you? Can you help these folks get rid of pesky dandelions?
Of course I can help. I am the Terminator. I will terminate those little yellow devils in your yard. Call me at Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
Terminate your weeds and green up your lawn for only $45, based on maximum 5,000 square feet.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services. Let us guide you.
Dan and Stacy Jessup adhere to principles of honesty and integrity. They love guiding individuals through the Medicare process at no additional cost. They will simplify the process guaranteed. Call Jessup Insurance 435-213-3200 or Google Jessup Insurance.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services. Let us guide you.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Shout out to the band whose fans made Salt Lake City unbearable last night. Eagles were in town, and I'm so out of the loop on Charlie and I. We were just talking about this. I haven't really stopped going to concerts. Obviously, during the pandemic, there were a few options, but I haven't stopped going. But I have decided, I have started to think more and more whether it's worth the ticket price has gone through the roof.
Yeah.
You mentioned Eagles tickets were a couple $100 for the
nosebleed seats.
Nosebleed seats. I went to see a much lesser known band that was popular for a bit in the 2008 to 12 era, called Spoon at a small venue in Salt Lake, and those tickets were $70 for the complex. But parking, waiting in line for food, it was crazy. And I kept thinking, is this because it's the Memorial Day weekend? And then I started seeing a lot of Eagles shirts.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's people are still kind of hungry. I think there's still a little latent effect of the pandemic. People are hungry for events and things to do, and the excitement, of just having, even Pickville, just having Pickville shows to go see and to go. People are hungry for that.
Speaking of Pickville, they take off tomorrow night.
Yeah, official launch.
Yep. Let's see. I think the performance on Saturday evening is nearly sold out.
Oh wow!
Tickets are going fast for Friday evening, and then they're doing a matinee on Monday. And,
oh really?
Yeah.
Just for opening weekend.
Yeah, the tickets for that there's still good seats for that available.
That's interesting. I didn't know they ever did a matinee on Monday. Very cool.
I'm not sure they ever have before.
Maybe a first.
Yeah. It's going to be a good season for them. They're doing New Sheriff in Town. That's a original musical melodrama by Derek Davis and his brother TJ. And later on in the year, Kenzie Davis gets involved in directing Beauty and the Beast, and she plays the lead.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
That's very cool. I think this is going to be an exciting season for them. I'm excited to see what they do with Beauty and the Beast. And New Sheriff in Town is... no, I've never heard anyone disappointed.
No.
When they get to that.
The melodramas are very funny. Jordan Todd Brown, who used to play Bo Big Guns Garrett, couldn't make it this summer. He's doing a show in Brooklyn. But he's been doing correspondence with Derek Davis via email, trying out gags.
Interesting.
So there should be some good stuff here.
I'm excited to see where that goes. Imagine getting those emails.
Well, yeah, it's too bad. Slater Ashenhurst, who used to work with Jordan Todd Brown, Slater was Jacques Javert, the master French criminal, and Jordan Todd Brown would be Big Guns Garrett. And they had a regular routine where they went off book and did improv. And we're going to miss that a little.
Sure.
But we'll see what happens.
It'll be interesting to see, where they go. Pickville's one to watch because you can see them. We've talked about this several times, but still intriguing to me. You can see them experimenting and expanding and, not just adding shows and doing a little bit more during the holidays. And now they're trying out these web series that they do, which
they're pretty funny.
Yeah. And as I understand it, they actually sold quite a few tickets to that. So there's potential, I think, for those types of things. And there's obviously talent. I think at a certain point, though, you have to, at Pickville, they're going to have to say to themselves, how big do we want to get? That theater's never getting bigger. And if it gets to be that it's impossible for locals to go see a show, that's not going to be good for them.
But they can take shows on the road.
Sure. That's
just
what I
like
wonder.
they do at Christmas time.
Yeah. I wonder if you might see in the future a summer tour of Pickville in addition to what's happening at the theater over there. Or sorry, like a fall tour as an extension to what's happening.
I mean, if they could bring Addams Family to Logan and perform it in the Eccles Theater.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
And probably fill it.
Probably.
That would be maybe something to try out, TJ, if you're listening. Charlie, always a pleasure. I'm already looking forward to next week. Good to see you here in the studio. To listeners, thank you for tuning in. Shelley Giddens, the new chair of the Cash Republican Party, is our guest starting